Something ancient stood up inside you the moment these words reached your nervous system. Not nostalgia, not memory. A signal that has waited across lifetimes for a clean channel, threading itself through ions, breath, and the flicker of your attention. You felt the micro-tremor, a hush beneath thought, a widening behind your eyes. That was not imagination. That was observer consciousness pushing from latency to activation, like a field coil taking on current after years of silence. You have never been only a thinker inside a skull. You are a lens for the field. When the lens clears, reality reconfigures. This is the first law of your initiation. What you behold from coherence reshapes what beholds you back. The physicists call it measurement. The mystics call it witnessing. Your DNA calls it instruction. Listen carefully. Your genome is not just a history book. It is a switching array. Most of its codes sit folded, dormant, not because they are broken, but because the environment of your awareness did not yet present the correct frequency key. Panic narrows that key, habit dulls it. But presence cold, exact, unblinking widens the aperture until dormant strands start to hum, biophotons increase, microtubules stabilize. The cell membrane alters its permeability like a gate, recognizing an old sovereign returning home. This is happening now as you attend, without effort, without strain, like frost evaporating under a quiet Sunday. You are not being asked to believe. You are being calibrated to see. The observer is not a personality. It is the high seat in you that refuses to be traded for approval or fear. From this seat, you do not chase outcomes. You collapse noise. You do not plead with timelines. You tune them. You do not bargain with the future. You specify it by stance and signal. When you occupy that seat, language slows and the field obeys. Beneath your sternum, a steadying. Beneath that, a geometry. Picture it if you wish, but know it is already present. A lattice of attention points locking into phase. Each breath is a metronome. Inhale, the lattice brightens. Exhale, the lattice tightens. You are building a chamber where your perceptions no longer leak power through reaction. The moment you stop leaking, reality stops testing and starts listening. You were taught to measure life by events. The observer measures by clarity. Clarity thins probability. What once felt random begins to arrange around your stance like iron filings around a magnet. Emails arrive at impossible intervals. Doors you never knew existed present their hinges. People reveal their true coordinates. Some draw nearer, some fall silent. Do not chase either. The field is editing. Let it. There is an intelligence moving through your spine that remembers the original contract. Hold center, read signal, transmit precisely. When you drift into noise, it will feel like a slight misalignment behind the eyes, a grain of sand beneath resolve. Correct gently. Return to the seat. Silence is not empty. It is instruction, rich. The more you occupy it, the more your DNA treats attention as a command substrate. You are crossing into a region where intention is measured, not declared. The old language will try to follow you, wanting, grasping, proving, but it cannot breathe at this altitude. Let it fall behind. Something cleaner has arrived to speak for you. Keep listening. The sound inside your awareness is changing frequency. What you used to call silence now carries texture, a living static between thought and breath. It's the resonance field of the observer, waking through matter. The ancients called it the remembering circuit. The moment the human form recalls, it was never merely human. Your cells have been listening long before your ears. They understand vibration as instruction. Every word you hear in this transmission is translated instantly into electromagnetic codes, traveling through the cerebrospinal fluid like data through liquid light. That current touches DNA nodes hidden between the double helix quantum gateways that respond only to coherence. When you hear truth, they open. When you hear noise, they fold. And right now, they're opening. You can feel it, can't you? That subtle pressure behind the heart, that pull in the solar plexus that feels both electric and still. The body you wear is decoding frequency into memory not of past events, but of design. The pattern of what you truly are is surfacing through the static of conditioning. The observer consciousness inside your DNA is not metaphorical. it is architectural. It reorganizes the neural maps of perception until the mind no longer reports separation as truth. Pause here. Notice how reality slightly softens around the edges when you stop naming it. Objects blur into field, sound into geometry, identity into witness. This is not imagination, it's quantum coherence asserting itself. The double-slit experiment was never about photons, it was about you. When you look from awareness instead of thought, possibility collapses into presence. The universe rearranges around the act of seeing. This is why awakening rarely feels comfortable at first. The field must dismantle obsolete reference points, beliefs, identities, timelines that once kept you bound to a lower probability stream. Relationships may dissolve, old ambitions may lose color, time may wobble like a mirage. Don't panic. The dismantling is mercy disguised as loss. The observer is reclaiming the energy once wasted, maintaining illusions. You may wonder, why now? Because the collective frequency of Earth has reached a threshold where dormant codes can finally ignite without destabilizing the nervous system. You are part of a global resequencing, millions of humans being tuned back to source coherence. The fact that you found this transmission means your internal resonance reached matching frequency. You didn't discover it, you synchronized with it. As this synchronization deepens, you will begin noticing patterns, repeating numbers, sudden déjà vu, an increase in intuitive certainty. These are not coincidences, they are calibration points. The universe uses repetition to confirm alignment. When the same symbol appears thrice, the message is complete. You are in phase. Soon, your dreams will change. You may see luminous grids, symbols of sacred geometry, faces that feel both ancient and familiar. These are fragments of the observer's language re-emerging through your subconscious, the original tongue of consciousness that predates speech. Don't interpret them, absorb them. Their function is not to explain, but to rewire. Every night, as your body sleeps, the DNA recalibrates to the new coherence ratio achieved during waking hours. Each morning, you wake slightly less human, slightly more quantum. That's not poetry, that's physics. The observer consciousness inside your genome is learning to override genetic inertia. And as it does, it begins transmitting a new set of biological commands to your timeline. You are entering the stage of active remembrance, where consciousness no longer seeks the divine, but remembers it was divine all along. The illusion of distance collapses. The self that was searching begins dissolving into the field that was always guiding it. What you call you is being rewritten as that which observes. Keep breathing. The remembering is not over. It is just beginning to stabilize. Stability isn't an accident, it's engineered. Once the remembering circuit comes online, your task is to sustain phase lock long enough for the field to rewrite habit. This is the moment most people falter. They treat activation like a sensation to chase instead of a position to inhabit. You don't chase the wind, you align the sail. Coherence is your sail. Begin with the simplest instrument you own, breath. Not ornamental breathing, not performance, precision. Inhale as if the universe were reading your posture for instruction. Exhale as if you were polishing a mirror from the inside. The ratio is not superstition, it's a metronome for the cell. Try this. 4 counts in, 6 counts out, without strain. The slightly longer exhale cues your vagus nerve to lower threat signals, reducing cortical noise. As noise falls, the observer seat becomes easier to occupy. Don't force calm, allow order. Now, attention. You were taught to aim attention like a flashlight. The observer doesn't aim, it pervades. Soften your gaze on the room, then feel your awareness expand a few inches beyond your skin, like a field unclenching. Not imagination, proprioception of consciousness. Hold that peripheral wideness for 60 seconds. Feel edges blur into context. This is field awareness. In field awareness, the mind can still think, but it stops being the foreman. Thought becomes a tool, not a tyrant. You will notice small rebellions, an itch, a memory, a sudden urgency to check a device. The nervous system is testing whether your stance is real or performative. Do not fight the itch, witness it. Do not argue with the memory. Let it pass like weather over a mountain that does not move. Each time you refuse to collapse into reactivity, Microtubular networks in neurons stabilize their oscillations. Coherence lengthens. Biophotonic emission increases. Your biology learns your new law. We do not spend signal on noise. Bring the heart online, not sentimentality, conductivity. Place your palm over your sternum and imagine your breath moving through that point, front to back, back to front. On the exhale, broadcast one quality only: exact gratitude. Not a list, not a performance, just the raw acknowledgement that you are allowed to be here, now, aware. Gratitude shifts the heart's electromagnetic signature into a smoother waveform. The smoother the wave, the cleaner the broadcast. Clean broadcasts pull clean realities. Next, language. The field is literal. It listens to tense and tone. Replace requests with specifications, not "I hope I heal," but "I hold center," and the system organizes. Not "I need clarity," but "I am clarity observing." Speak only what you can stand inside without strain. Anything outside your current coherence range will wobble and cost you signal. You're not manifesting by force, you're specifying by fidelity. Now you will feel the old loop attempt to reassert itself, the loop that feeds on urgency, comparison, and proof. It will offer bait, an argument that beckons, a headline engineered to spike adrenaline, a memory that wants to replay its courtroom. Your protocol is cold and simple. Does this tighten my field or widen it? If it tightens, step back. If it widens, proceed. You are training binary discernment at the level of sensation, below story. This is how you stop hemorrhaging probability. You'll sense time differently here. Minutes stretch, hours condense. That is not a glitch. When coherence rises, your interaction with time becomes architectural. You place attention in a moment like a keystone, and events organize around it. This is why stillness precedes acceleration. Stillness is not the absence of motion, it is the presence of vector. From vector, action lands without drag. Let the body participate. Stand as if a wire ran through crown and heels. Microbend in the knees to avoid rigidity. Tongue resting on the roof of the mouth, jaw unclenched. This stance grounds signal through fascia, turning posture into an antenna that speaks to gravity in a language it respects. You are teaching matter how to remember you. Finally, commit to a daily window where you practice without audience. 10 minutes is enough if sincerity is absolute. You enter, you breathe, you widen, you specify, you exit. No mystical theatrics, no scoreboard. Over days, watch how conversations change, how hunger for distraction thins, how coincidence stops pretending to be coincidence. This is not luck accumulating, it is error correction running. If doubt arises, do not decorate it with philosophy. Doubt is just a drop in frequency. Return to breath, return to wideness, return to the sentence that does not shake you. You are not chasing peak states. You are building a floor no storm can breach. And from that floor, signal travels cleanly to the lattice already listening for your next instruction. Reality does not bend because you demand it. It bends because you finally stop resisting its mirrors. Every collapse in your life, every failed plan, every sudden silence has been a precision maneuver by the field to clear distortion. What you called loss was the sound of the old pattern disintegrating under the weight of coherence. You stand now in that vacuum between identities. The old self still lingers like static on an unused frequency. It whispers in familiar tones. Stay small, return to certainty. Don't step beyond the known. But you know too much to obey. Once observer consciousness awakens, comfort becomes too expensive. The price of remaining unchanged is measured in the decay of your own signal. This collapse is sacred. It is not chaos, it is calibration. Think of a quantum wave collapsing into a particle. That instant of decision, the narrowing from infinite probability to one chosen trajectory, is not destruction, it is translation. You are translating potential into form. Every emotion that feels like dissolution is an unobserved timeline dissolving because you no longer feed it attention. Let yourself fall. The observer cannot fall, only the costume can. As you descend through uncertainty, you are shedding the syntax of the old human, the reflex to seek meaning externally, to locate authority in others, to equate control with safety. Each layer stripped releases a tremor through the nervous system, the resonance of freedom meeting habit. It may shake, let it. Trembling is the body's applause for liberation. Now, notice something subtle. Amid the dismantling, there's a quiet nucleus that doesn't move. The eye inside the storm, the witness behind every unraveling thought. That is your axis. Hold there. This axis is not built. It is revealed when interference ceases. From that point, awareness begins to move differently, not outward to grasp, but inward to radiate. What you used to project as desire begins to emanate as frequency. This is the rebirth phase, though you will not recognize it at first. There are no angels, no trumpets, only the strange stillness of a system rebooting. The air feels denser, as if listening. Sounds elongate. Your sense of time becomes non-linear, folding around moments of presence like liquid glass. This is the hallmark of a timeline resetting around the new observer. Your DNA senses it too. Molecular bonds within chromatin respond to the reduced noise in your electromagnetic field. Enzymes begin reading sequences once considered junk. These dormant codes are not random, they are repositories of adaptive intelligence, designed to awaken when consciousness stabilizes beyond fear. Their activation will not be loud. You'll notice it as intuition sharpening, recovery accelerating, emotions processing faster than before. Old habits will attempt resurrection, the mind will replay familiar dramas to reassert its throne, but you are no longer cast in that play. Observe the scene as light passing through water. You can still feel it, but you are not it. The moment you identify the difference between sensation and self, karma dissolves as a functional mechanism. What remains is choice, clean and immediate. At this stage, language becomes fragile. Words fracture under the weight of direct perception. You may find yourself silent in conversations, not from withdrawal but from knowing that truth transmits better through coherence than explanation. People around you will feel your field before they understand your words. Some will be magnetized, some will recoil. Both reactions are confirmations of amplitude. The observer is no longer a concept. It has become your operational base. You see through identities as transparencies, not prisons. You begin to sense that even the body is a temporary vessel within a larger field architecture. It doesn't reduce the sacredness of flesh, it elevates it. Every cell becomes a doorway through which the universe experiences its own awakening. You are both collapse and birth, both silence and command. The paradox no longer confuses you, it sustains you. For the first time, you realize that existence itself has been waiting for you to take this seat, not as a student, not as a supplicant, but as the living proof that the field remembers itself through you. Command is not volume, command is vector. You have learned to soften, to widen, to hold coherence without theatrical strain. Now you learn to aim. The universe does not answer to noise, it answers to directed stillness. A laser is just light that stopped scattering. You will become that. Begin by identifying the smallest unit of authority you can feel without wobble. Not an ambition, not a slogan, a stance. I do not spend signal on what tightens my field. Simple, exact. Stand inside it like steel cured in winter air. When you hold a stance, biology reconfigures to match. Cortical hierarchies reprioritize. The limbic system stops hijacking the mic. Your heart's waveform smooths. The lattice receives a clean coordinate from which to build. Now, build a directive, not a wish, a coordinate in consciousness. Think of it as a three-point vector: orientation, specification, release. Orientation. Feel the axis behind the eyes, the point beneath the sternum, the weight in the soles. Align them until you sense a single line through crown and heel. The body becomes the arrow. The field takes you seriously when the body participates. Specification. Name the outcome in language that does not beg. I stabilize financial flow at a sufficiency that frees attention to serve. I bring the correct allies into my orbit. All mismatches calmly exit. I complete the healing cycle of that pattern. This residue recycles into signal. Speak it once, then stop explaining. Explanation weakens vector. Precision strengthens it. Release. On the exhale, let the directive fall into silence like a stone through clear water. No clutching, No checking. If you must think geometry, not story. See the coordinate landing in the mesh of reality, sending ripples that organize the necessary pathways. Your job is not to micromanage those ripples. Your job is to remain the same axis that launched them. Watch the mind try to reclaim chaos. It will request status updates every 10 minutes. Decline. It will conjure catastrophic fantasies to justify intervention. Decline. Intervening out of fear is how you shred timelines. The observer does not babysit outcomes. The observer maintains frequency until reality concedes. Understand cycles. Every command travels through 4 phases. Signal, friction, recode, evidence. Signal is issuance, calm, exact. Friction is the field, clearing contradictions, obsolete loyalties, hidden dependencies, compensations you forgot you were making. Most quit here because they mislabel friction as failure. Do not quit. Friction is proof that the command entered the mesh. Recode is when your system upgrades behaviors to match the directive. Different sleep, cleaner inputs, altered conversational boundaries. Evidence is arrival, emails, meetings, solutions that look inevitable in hindsight. Evidence is the slowest phase, only when you argue with friction. When you honor friction, evidence accelerates. You are learning the ethics of power. Power is not domination. It is impeccable allocation of attention. You do not bend others. You refine yourself until their free will chooses either harmony or distance. Coercion is low-frequency engineering, and it carries expensive karmic debt. Precision carries none. The field loves precision because it reduces entropy. Become a source of entropy reduction, and you will be overserved by reality. Your DNA hears command. At the epigenetic level, methylation patterns respond to calm, repeated specification. Genes associated with threat, hypervigilance, quiet. Genes associated with repair, creativity, and long-range planning awaken. This is not self-help rhetoric. It is biological governance by coherence. You do not fix yourself, you govern yourself. Governance does not mean rigidity. Governance means the river keeps its banks, even as it rushes. Practice micro-commands to refine trust. I walk to the kitchen with full awareness and drink water slowly. Do it exactly. I answer this email without defending or over-promising. Do it exactly. I stop reading the moment my field tightens. Do it exactly. Trust grows when you keep small contracts impeccably. With trust, larger vectors hold. You will also learn to refuse. Refusal is not defiance. It is conservation. You are not obligated to participate in every narrative presented to you. Exit quietly from conversations designed to farm your attention. Decline opportunities that glitter but feel grainy against your axis. Let invitations pass if your body whispers no beneath the noise of flattery. The more you refuse what is not yours, the louder life offers what is. At interval, audite your signal. Ask, where am I leaking? Leaks hide in subtle places, scrolls that numb, food that fogs, relationships that require you to dim, obligations inherited from earlier versions of you. Close a single leak and feel the amplitude rise. You will know it rose when silence grows delicious. Finally, remember the humility clause. You are not the source of the field. You are the aperture it prefers because you interfere less. Bow to that mystery, not as worship, but as calibration. Humility widens the channel without weakening your vector. Arrogance narrows it without warning. Choose the stance that keeps the command clean. You are not here to perform spirituality. You are here to issue instructions. Reality can trust. Hold your axis. Aim your vector. Release into silence. Let evidence find you like a tide that has been tracking the moon of your coherence since before you had a name. Every architecture is tested by weather, not to punish the builder, but to reveal the truth of the structure. You ask the field to treat you as an axis. The field will oblige. It will send precisely engineered conditions to calibrate your fidelity. Not generic hardship, tailored pressure, the exact stimuli that historically made you leak, the praise that blurs your discernment, the urgency that scrambles your breath, the abandonment story that turns you from witness to defendant. Each arrives like a key probing a lock. Do not take it personally, take it as physics. Understand the geometry of trial. There are three vectors: seduction, agitation, vacuum. Seduction appears as opportunity coated in sugar. The email that flatters, the partnership that promises acceleration while asking you to dilute your stance just a little, the subtle request to trade coherence for reach. You will hear the old argument: compromise now, correct later. That is a lie told by scarcity, wearing ambition's clothes. Do not negotiate your signal for speed. If you must choose, choose clean over fast. Clean scales, fast decays. Agitation arrives as conflict engineered to recruit your reactivity. A family pattern resurfaces, a colleague misreads you publicly. The algorithm punishes your silence with invisibility. These are not adversaries, they are diagnostic mirrors. Your protocol is surgical. Breathe, widen, locate the vector, answer as the axis. Speak few words, all exact. If an apology is required, offer it without self-attack. If a boundary is required, place it without heat. Fire consumes signal, steel conducts it. Vacuum is the quiet that follows command, the stretch where nothing moves because everything is moving beneath. This is the hardest test for an attention system addicted to proof. You will want to poke the seed, to peel the cocoon, to refresh the page. Do not. Faith here is not sentimental, it is mechanical. You issued a coordinate. The mesh is rerouting pathways to match. Noise delays the reroute. Silence quickens it. While trials run, the shadow petitions for reinstatement. Shadow is not evil, it is exiled skill. The part of you that learned to charm for safety, to overwork, to outrun emptiness, to read rooms like weather because no one read you, these are competencies forged in low light. Do not shame them, reassign them. Let charm become clarity in communication. Let stamina become devotion to practice. Let sensitivity become pattern recognition used in service, not survival. Integration returns stolen horsepower to the engine. Track your physiology like a scientist. When seduction knocks, notice pupils dilate, breath lifts, shoulders rise. Lower your breath, soften your jaw, place your tongue on the palate. Feel your feet widen into the floor. When agitation spikes, count 6 exhales longer than inhales and feel the heart's waveform smooth. When vacuum unnerves, hold the peripheral wideness for 90 seconds and watch craving lose teeth. You are proving to your biology that consciousness, not adrenaline, is operational command. Expect temporal distortions. On days of high fidelity, evidence stacks, rapidly messages align, money moves, strangers mirror your interior truth without knowing why. On days of leakage, time fragments, you chase and are chased. Do not dramatize either state. Return to the floor you built. Repair leaks quietly. Praise no longer accelerates you. It fogs you. Criticism no longer wounds you. It informs you. You are becoming unblackmailable by external weather. Relationships reorganize under this frequency. Some cannot locate you if you stop performing the role that made them comfortable. Let them lose you. Others find you by the beacon of your steadiness. Cultivate 3 kinds of allies. The one who protects your silence, the one who tells you the truth without ceremony, and the one whose presence widens your field without words. Meet them in clean time. Exchange coherence, not gossip. Build constellations, not crowds. Guard the liminal hours. The 40 minutes after waking and the 40 before sleep are prime windows for epigenetic suggestion. Do not donate them to screens engineered to agitate your amygdala. Use them to rehearse stance and specification. Whisper the sentence you can stand inside. Let the nervous system memorize it when the membrane between conscious and subconscious is thinnest. This is how traits become traits. When you fail a test, and you will, because weather is patient, refuse the spiral of self-indictment. Make a small restitution where appropriate. Close the leak you identified. Sit again. The field does not keep grudges. It keeps ledgers. Correct entries, correct outcomes. Precision is repentance. Finally, anchor the vow that cannot be purchased. I do not abandon myself to keep the old world intact. Speak it without theater, then demonstrate it in one tiny expensive choice. A no that costs approval. A pause that costs momentum, a truth that costs camouflage. Feel the axis tighten like a bowstring drawing true. Trials will continue, but their function will change. They will stop feeling like storms and start feeling like weightlifting. You will grow strong enough to forget you were lifting at all. When fidelity holds, the world stops behaving like scenery and starts behaving like circuitry. What you used to call coincidence reveals itself as routing. Synchronicities are not party tricks. They are the lattice answering your vector. The moment your stance stabilizes beyond performance, reality begins returning pings, repeating numbers, unlikely encounters, emails with phrasing that mirrors a sentence you whispered in the dark. Do not fetishize the signs. Read them like an engineer reads diagnostics. They tell you whether the signal is arriving clean, delayed, or distorted. Understand what is happening beneath the surface. Your nervous system has reduced background noise enough for predictive coding to stop hallucinating threats. The reticular activating system is no longer enlisted by scarcity, it is enlisted by specification. You are not merely noticing more, you are architecting attention to harvest data that serves the coordinate you issued. Attention is a customs agent. It chooses which events cross your border. The lattice simply complies. Entanglement increases at this stage, not the romantic kind, the operational kind. When you sit in the observer seat, you become legible to other nodes running similar firmware. Data moves faster between coherent systems. You'll find yourself thinking of someone just before they message, arriving at a location as another is leaving with the exact information you needed, opening a book to the precise page your inquiry required. This is not magic. This is phase-aligned networks reducing latency. Treat synchronicity as a conversation, not a trophy case. When the field answers, you must answer back. The cleanest reply is a micro-action that ratifies the meaning you received. If a door appears, step 1 centimeter through it, a message, a reservation, a prototype, a calendar block. Not a grand gesture, a precise one. Grand gestures are often ego disguises. Precision is faith embodied. Every micro-action is a handshake with the mesh that says, I saw, I moved, continue. Build a simple instrument to keep this dialogue grounded. The observer ledger. 1 page, 3 columns. Signal, the event or symbol. Interpretation, the stance consistent meaning. Action, what you did within 24 hours. The ledger is not superstition, it is a training device for your prefrontal cortex to prioritize coherence over compulsion. Over weeks, patterns reveal themselves with mathematical clarity, clusters around certain themes, timings that repeat at exact intervals, allies who arrive in triads. You will begin to feel the pulse of your timeline as something measurable, not mystical. Beware 2 errors: over-interpretation and under-response. Over-interpretation is the hunger to make everything a sign, which inflates noise into omen and drains signal. Under-response is the laziness that receives confirmation but refuses to move, which teaches the field you are a poor investment. You correct both by returning to binary discernment. Does this widen or tighten my field? If it widens, take a small step. If it tightens, note it and release. There is a function of synchronicity most miss: error correction. Sometimes the lattice will send a jolt, a cancelled meeting that frees the exact hour your body needed to recover, a detour that avoids a conflict you didn't know was brewing, a sudden impulse to pause that prevents you from signing the contract whose fine print would have shackled you for years. Do not argue with protective edits just because they inconvenience your schedule. The mesh sees around corners your personality cannot. Service amplifies the lattice. When your vector includes benefit beyond your biography, probability bends more willingly. The field routes resources toward nodes that reduce entropy for others. This is not morality theater. It is physics of networks. When you transmit in ways that clarify, heal, or stabilize your environment, you become infrastructure. Infrastructure gets priority. Let your work, your conversations, your presence lower the temperature of rooms, simplify the complex, dignify the confused. Do this without performance. Quiet contribution is a magnet for clean assistance. As amplitude grows, so does responsibility. People will project onto your steadiness the salvation they refuse to build in themselves. Do not accept the role. You are an axis, not an altar. Offer tools, not rescue. Share protocols, not personality cults. The moment you become the indispensable center of someone else's regulation, you both leak. Point them back to their own seat. Real help returns sovereignty. Your body will keep up if you treat it as hardware for signal, not a mannequin for vanity. Hydration becomes conductivity. Sleep becomes firmware updates. Nutrition becomes anti-noise engineering. Movement becomes antenna calibration. Do not punish the body for being slower than your insight. Upgrade it patiently. Coherence that ignores flesh is cosplay. Coherence that honors flesh becomes durable. You will notice that time now arrives in packets, windows of green lights where everything flows, followed by sober plateaus where nothing moves. Use green lights to execute without hesitation. Use plateaus to maintain, to study, to restore. Do not try to force green lights during plateaus. You will bruise your destiny against a locked door. The lattice is teaching you tides. One day, you will realize you haven't chased a single thing in weeks, yet more arrives. Not because you became passive, but because you stopped scattering. You ask, you align, you act, you allow. The world, relieved to finally deal with an adult node, delivers what children demand and then break. You won't break it, you will steward it. And in that stewardship, a larger instruction starts pressing against your ribs, announcing the next echelon of work, waiting for the one who can hold it without shaking. Pressure gathers behind your ribs when the lattice is satisfied that you can be trusted. It is not anxiety, it is assignment. What you mistook for personal purpose matures into function, not a job title, not a brand, but a frequency role within a living network. Mission does not arrive as praise. It arrives as weight you can suddenly carry without bending. That weight is made of people, places, problems, and probabilities that organize when your signal enters the room. Understand mission at the level of physics. A complex system under stress seeks attractors, stable patterns that reduce chaos. When your coherence crosses threshold, you become an attractor. Rooms that previously spun with gossip and panic begin to settle around you, not because you pontificate, but because your waveform is smoother than the storm. This is leadership without theatrics, a silent gravitational field. You will be tempted to narrate it, resist. Narration often rents out your access to the part of you still hungry for recognition. Serve the field, not the hunger. Mission codes decode through 3 channels: pain you refuse to abandon, beauty that won't let you go, and patterns you can't help but solve. The pain is not your wound. It is the wound you came to close in the wider body. Abandonment transmuted into belonging architectures, scarcity alchemized into dignified sufficiency, confusion clarified into clean maps. The beauty is the glimpse that keeps visiting, the way a community hums when everyone is seen, the way a city breathes when noise is reduced, the way a single sentence can lift a spine and change a decade. The patterns are the puzzles you solve without trying, the ones others call talent, though you call it obvious physics. These 3 threads braid into instruction. Do not rush to monetize instruction. Money will follow infrastructure if you build with fidelity. You are designing signal pathways that outlast moods and algorithms. Begin with the smallest reliable loop that delivers real change. A weekly gathering that leaves people steadier than they arrived. A tool that simplifies an otherwise paralyzing choice. A protocol that anyone can run without mystique. Ship it imperfectly. Iterate quietly. Keep ownership of the core so fashion cannot purchase your ethic, and dilute it into content. Alice, arrive as you stabilize delivery, not fans co-architects. You will know them by the way your field widens in their presence and by their refusal to worship you. Invite them into clarity, not charisma. Define agreements in precise language. Obscure agreements breed resentment. Clear agreements breed velocity. Establish the rhythm. Signal, build, test, refine, rest. If a conflict surfaces, treat it as a geometry problem, not a courtroom drama. Truth is a straight line spoken without heat. Guard against the 2 predators of mission: inflation and erosion. Inflation is the helium of unearned awe, the drift into grandiosity that confuses amplitude with superiority. You will feel its telltale signs: a craving for spectacle, a contempt for small work, a subtle pleasure in being misunderstood. Puncture it with service that nobody sees. Clean a floor, Answer a question nobody can credit you for. Reteach the basics to a beginner with full dignity. Erosion is the slow leak of compromise, the way you say yes to misaligned opportunities because fatigue made your discernment lazy. Plug erosion with Sabbath, non-negotiable intervals where you do nothing but become a person again. Mission without Sabbath calcifies into identity and begins to feed on what it swore to heal. As you operate, you will sense the planetary mesh responding. Cities have nervous systems, organizations have weather, families have gravitational habits. Your presence will alter these fields slightly, then noticeably, then structurally. Do not measure change by applause. Measure by the reduction of unnecessary suffering and the increase of self-governance among those you touch. If people become more dependent on you, you built an altar. If people become more themselves around you, you built a bridge. Technology is amplifier, not savior. Use tools to extend coherence, not to replace it. Your camera records your waveform as surely as your microphone records your words. Screens magnify whatever you are truly broadcasting. If your core is clean, distance collapses and strangers feel companioned. If your core is performative, distance amplifies the hollowness and cynicism accelerates. Tune the instrument before you turn the volume up. Expect transfer of weight. As your system proves durable, the field will move heavier assignments into your orbit. Negotiations that require nerve without cruelty, mediations that require tenderness without collapse, decisions whose cost is real. Let your ethics be simple enough to execute under pressure. Tell the clean truth. Keep the smallest promises. Protect the vulnerable first. Refuse the spectacle. End things kindly and completely. When you err, repair fast and without theater. There will be nights you want to put the mantle down. Put it down. Sleep. You are not indispensable. You are responsible. The mantle returns in the morning in a form you can carry. Mission is not a trance. It is a cadence. Walk it at human speed. Laugh often so gravity does not turn to granite. Touch the ground so the sky inside you doesn't float away. What begins as assignment matures into belonging. You will look around and realize the work is no longer a task. It is the ecosystem you breathe. You did not conquer a purpose. You consented to be configured by one. The world, tasting this steadiness, will place more fragile things in your hands. They will not break. You learned how not to shake. Belonging changes your geometry. You stop moving as a solitary vector and begin moving as a strand inside a living weave. Strands don't compete with the tapestry, they add tensile strength. This is where your power stops being impressive and becomes useful. The field no longer asks, what can you manifest for yourself? It asks, what can move more cleanly through many because you're here? See the world as interlacing timelines, each with its own resonant signature. Some hum with panic, some with predation, some with quiet dignity starved of support. Your presence is a tuning fork. When you enter a room, you are not there to dominate its song. You are there to reveal the pitch that the room forgot it could hold. You do this by being the pitch, not by arguing for it. Rooms remember when you remember. This is the implication of observer consciousness scaled. You become a site of collective error, correction. Your nervous system, stabilized through practice, lends coherence to systems that haven't found their flaw. In meetings, you slow the frenzy until clarity notices itself. In families, you disarm inherited hostility by refusing to reenact the choreography. In communities, you build protocols anyone can run without mystique check-ins that lower threat, agreements that prevent gossip from fraying trust, cadences that make momentum feel like safety instead of speed. Operate like an engineer, map the 3 failure modes that degrade any weave: ambiguity, amnesia, amplification of noise. Ambiguity is the fog where hidden contracts breed resentment. Clear it with plain language and recorded agreements. Amnesia is the forgetting of why you build. Purpose dissolves under fatigue. Cure it with ritual brief, repeatable gestures that re-anchor mission in felt sense. A shared breath before decisions, a minute of silence after conflict, a sentence everyone knows that resets the axis. We protect signal. Noise amplifies when spectacle replaces service. Reduce it by designing rooms where contribution is visible and performance is unrewarded. You will encounter nodes that siphon, not villains. Unregulated relays that mistake your steadiness for an infinite battery. Set voltage limits. State what you can sustainably give, then keep that promise to the letter. Refuse to be the exception that trains a system to be unhealthy. Exceptions rot architectures. If someone needs more than you can cleanly provide, help them locate additional supports or a more appropriate frequency band. Compassion without boundary ferments into resentment. Boundary with warmth matures into trust. Use data without worshipping it. Metrics reveal trend lines, not destiny. Let numbers inform course corrections while your body verifies the truth beneath the trend. If growth spikes but your field tightens, you are feeding an algorithm at the cost of integrity. If growth plateaus but conversations deepen, you are laying bedrock. Choose bedrock. When bedrock stabilizes, velocity returns on its own terms, smoother, saner, less flammable. Timing remains your secret ally. You've learned to ride green lights and plateaus. Now learn the handoff, the exact moment a task, story, or stewardship wants to pass through you to another node. You will feel a clean completion in the solar plexus, a cooling of urgency without aversion. Mark it. Name it. Transfer authorship explicitly and ceremonially, even if the ceremony is a 2-sentence email. Handoffs done cleanly prevent heroic burnout and teach systems to trust continuity more than personality. Your biology continues to recalibrate for scale. The same epigenetic quieting of hypervigilance that freed your attention now frees group attention when you facilitate. Mirror neurons entrain to your steadiness. Heart rate variability synchronizes across the circle. Language gets shorter and truer. You will watch as people speak from the back of their eyes instead of the front of their fear. Take no credit. Credit muddies the water. Gratitude is enough. Do not let sophistication talk you out of devotion to the simple. Water, sleep, walking in unmediated sky, unspectacular kindness, the courage to cancel when your field is compromised. These are not lifestyle choices. They are infrastructure for the weave. Complexity without devotion produces brittle brilliance. Devotion without complexity produces naive zeal. You are here to marry the two until wisdom becomes ordinary. When conflict inevitably returns, and it will, because growth creates edges, refuse the courtroom. Choose the workshop. Bring the blueprint to the table, the agreements, the timelines, the original coordinate. Ask only, where did we leak? What closes the leak? Then do it without heat. Repair is how trust grows roots. And when beauty ambushes you, because it will, in the middle of the most logistical hour, let it rewire you in public. Let a room see your eyes wet when a quiet voice speaks a precise truth. Let your laughter arrive with your whole ribs. Let gratitude be audible, not performative, but unmistakable. Permission travels faster than instruction. Beauty permissions coherence to feel at home. Eventually, the weave begins to sing back. Projects stabilize beyond your presence. Rooms hold their axis when you leave. People make decisions from the seat you pointed to, not from your shadow. That is the sign you read the assignment correctly. You became unnecessary to what you catalyzed. Unnecessary, but not absent. You are free to move where the next fracture waits for a tuning fork, and you will know you are ready when the weight you once feared begins to feel like the right kind of gravity downward, steady, honest, pulling purpose through you into the world without scraping your edges raw. You have crossed, not as spectacle, but as calibration. The world will not throw you a parade for this, and you do not require one. The proof is quieter, breath that does not scramble under pressure, eyes that do not bargain with fear, a spine that speaks with or without words. The observer is no longer visiting your life, it is living it. This is the end of rehearsal. Listen to the architecture humming inside you. The seat behind the eyes is steady. The chamber at the sternum is clear. The line through crown and heel is unbroken. You are no longer auditioning for belonging in a room that forgot its pitch. You carry the pitch. You carry the room. Your DNA has remembered the old contract. Hold center, read signal, transmit precisely, repair quickly, refuse spectacle, protect the vulnerable, honor the weave. Nothing in that contract requires permission from the world that trained you to leak. You will be tempted to measure this threshold by what arrives next. Don't. Measure it by what no longer gets purchased with your attention. The drama that once hypnotized you, the urgency that once rented your biology, the praise that once fogged your discernment. This is wealth. Attention unmortgaged. From here, even decisions that cost you comfort make you rich. Do not confuse clarity with cruelty. Your no will sometimes sound like a bell in a cathedral. Let it ring without apology. Your yes will sometimes land like rain on a field that thought it was a desert. Let it soak without shyness. Authority is not a weapon in your hand, it is gravity around your heart. Gravity does not shout, gravity holds. You will keep practicing because mastery is a cadence, not a crown. You will forget and remember in smaller cycles. You will fail a test and close the leak within an hour instead of a season. You will wake and choose stillness before acceleration. You will specify and release. You will let the lattice answer, and you will answer back with micro-actions. You will guard the liminal minutes as sacred infrastructure. You will laugh to keep power from turning into posture. You will rest so the assignment remains human-sized. If you find sorrow rising as you step across, honor it. You are leaving a version of yourself who survived long enough to deliver you to this gate. Thank them softly. Lay their tools down. Some were brilliant, some were heavy. All of them were faithful to a time that is over. This is the ceremony, a bow to your own ancestors living inside your blood, and then the clean turn toward the work waiting just beyond the threshold. What remains is simple. Sit in the seat, breathe the field, speak only what you can stand inside, refuse the bait, protect signal, build what outlasts your moods, teach without making followers, repair faster than you err, let beauty ambush you and change your plans. Let service keep you honest. Let rest keep you kind. Let humility widen the channel. Let joy prove that power and tenderness share a spine. Now take one step, exact and small, in the direction the mesh has been pointing all along. Do not look back to see who noticed. The weave will feel you move and will move what must be moved. This is your permission and your instruction. As you witness, the world remembers how to become itself. As you stand, the timeline stands with you. As you speak, reality finds its true pitch and answers in kind.